Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 15th of April, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Got a big show for you guys today. In light of how Friday's show went, which even though you guys were very nice to me about it, you guys were very reassuring that everything was fine, I had a bad day. I was very confrontational. I didn't like the way that the show went, and I said that in some way I would make it up to you guys. In light of that, I am trying my best to one-take this bitch today. We are doing the full 60, or at least as close as I can get to it, without any cuts. That's assuming that nothing disrupts the show, as it did on Friday. So let's do a few housekeeping notes. Up top, let's do a very brief baby update. So the day we're recording this and releasing it is Monday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we have a few doctor appointments in the morning, and I believe what they're going to ask us to do is pick the date that we would like her to get induced so that we can have the baby, which is a very wild concept. We're essentially picking his birthday, which is our son's birthday, which is something that we you just don't really think about. You're like, oh, okay, so we get to just what? Okay, so what? So now, because she's she's an astrology girly, and so she's been looking at like, so when is the full moon? And we're trying to coordinate it with them. Like, all right, if that's what you want to do, if that's what makes you feel better about it, sure, let's do it that way. So we're gonna be picking the day that he's going to be born, or at least that we're trying to get him out the door. I think sounds like she wants to do next Tuesday, so that means by next Wednesday we're gonna have a son. We're going to have a baby boy. So there's a little update for you guys. Second thing, dude, tomorrow's going to be so busy for us, though, because we're doing the doctor appointments in the morning, and then right after that, we got to do a quick grocery run. And then right after that, we're going to go see Civil War. Hopefully, she said we can do it. She promised me that we can do it. We can see Civil War on Tuesday. Been asking about it all goddamn weekend. It's my movie of the year. This is my moment. Alex Garland's penultimate film, okay? This movie is literally everything that I could ever want. You got Jesse Plemons, who is only going to be in it for like 5 minutes. I already know it. Kirsten Dunst being a field reporter, a war correspondent extraordinaire. Nick Offerman as the president. Wagner Moura. Shout out to Narcos. I'm excited to see it. I hope it's really, really good. And then of course, the Fils de Resistance. The play-in starts tomorrow. Holy smokes. And that's going to be the main meat and potatoes of today's episode, is we're going to talk about the playoffs a lot. Now that we can finally do that, I can't believe that the regular season is done. I actually can very much believe it. But before we jump into all the playoff stuff today, we got to talk about something that, we're going to have all summer to do this. I'm going to have all summer to bitch about the Pistons and to talk about, you guys see the thing that the Pistons just did? Let's talk for 5 minutes about how much I hate this and how much it sucks. I would be remiss if, after quite literally the worst season that the franchise has ever played, and I don't mean to speak for all Pistons fans, but one of, if not the worst season that we have ever sat through as fans, if I didn't do a quick little spiel kind of recapping the season. And you'll have to forgive me because we're going to repeat some things that we've talked about on the show. But now that we can look through the entire season through the scope of it's over and, in its totality, I think it's important to try to do a brief little recap of it. You come into this season and you have Monty Williams as your coach. Tom Gores finally got to do the big swing, and he went and got the coach that he wanted. He made him the highest paid coach in the history of the NBA at the time. It has since been surpassed twice by both Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr. Cool. Well, it went off the rails pretty quick. The Pistons lost 27 consecutive games, setting the single-season record for most consecutive losses. A game that I was at, by the way, and that I even uploaded a video. You can go back and look at it for like historical posterity. I believe the video is just called 27 in a row. I pre-recorded it like a week early because I was like, we're 100% going to break this record. I don't know if you know this. I don't know if I've ever said this. I recorded a video for when the Pistons broke the all-time losing record. I think it was 28 games that they were supposed to lose, but didn't they win like a week later against Toronto was what it was? I had a video recorded and I had to scrap it. I couldn't upload it because the Pistons won a game. So I spent a lot of time working on we just lost the most amount of games any team has ever lost, and I didn't even get to upload it. It was only like 3 minutes long. So maybe one day as like a little treat, I'll kind of throw that out there as like some bonus content and be like, hey, here's this video that got scrapped, but in an alternate universe, here's this thing that exists. I haven't even watched it. I don't even really remember what the video is. I'm sure it was insane, maybe slightly unhinged. This is also the season that we broke up with Killian Hayes. Is that something that we've all kind of forgotten about a little bit? We're only like 2 months removed from the breakup. I guess there's really not that much that I even want to talk about because of how just beaten down by this I am. Truly, it's the least amount of fun that I've had watching this team. It's the earliest that I ever checked out on them. And for a team that has a lot of guys that I care about what happens to them in the future, you lose more games than you ever had. I don't want really anybody who was on this team this year to be on the team next year. And I say that pretty much top to bottom. It's Cade, and then after that, you got to do what you got to do. Here's what disturbs me the most. The year that the Pistons ended up winning the lottery and getting Cade was 2000. That would have been 2021 to 2022, right? Or would that have been 2020 to 2021? Whichever one it was. Here were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here were the 6 worst teams in the NBA. Okay, we'll save the worst for last. Minnesota, Cleveland, Oklahoma City, Orlando, Detroit, and Houston. Detroit had the second worst record. They went on to get Cade. Houston got Jalen Green. Cleveland got Evan Mobley. Everybody's happy. For the most part, in some ways, everybody's happy. I think out of those 3, we're probably the happiest. I say that unbiased. I mean, Houston, yeah, they're winning games. Jalen Green has played a phenomenal, the last month and a half of the season, he was extraordinary. Evan Mobley has been, at times, a defensive anchor for those Cavs teams, but offensively is kind of where you're like, so what's going on here? So, like, what's the deal? Did we get sold a bag of shit? Love Evan Mobley, and it's not like not that I've given up on him, and Cavs fans haven't either. I'm just saying, out of all those 3, who's the bona fide superstar in the making? It's probably Cade, right? I bring this up to say Minnesota, in the playoffs. Not just in the playoffs, but the best that they've been in 20 years. Cleveland in the playoffs. Orlando in the playoffs against Cleveland, by the way. Oklahoma City, not only in the playoffs, officially locked up the 1 seed. They have an MVP candidate on their team. They have a Rookie of the Year candidate on their team, but let's be fucking for real. That's all he is a candidate. He'll make an all-rookie first team. There you go, Thunder fans. You'll get that for Chet Holmgren. Not only that, but 2 years ago, Oklahoma City had the second pick of the draft, and they picked Chet. That was only 2 years ago. And now they're the 1 seed in the West, in a conference that is about as competitive as we've seen it in recent years, with how much parity there is in the league. Orlando, we said that. They're in the playoffs. Houston, while they're not in the playoffs, they made a damn good push for it, though, right? And such is life that you kind of get the blood drained out of you by Golden State, in the end. It's just kind of how it goes. Houston kind of just fell victim to counting their chickens before they hatch. Tari Eason wouldn't shut the fuck up. And, it is what it is. But Houston had a good season. Had a hell of a lot of a better season than Detroit did. So I'm looking at all these teams in a season where it felt like we were all kind of on the same timeline in some sense. In some sense, we were all on the same trajectory. Out of all these teams, I would really only put Orlando, Detroit, and Houston all kind of in that same tier, which I've been very clear and consistent about, which is pretty much the only reason I don't like Orlando, is because for so many years, you have Orlando pretending to do the Vucevic thing. At the same time, Detroit is pretending to do the Andre Drummond thing. They're like, no, this can work. This can work. Andre Drummond is an all-star center, just because the motherfucker would grab 20 rebounds in a game. And you watch him now with the Bulls, and I guess that's just what his role. I guess that is where he can thrive, is when his job is literally just to grab 15 to 20 rebounds a game. I have no notes otherwise. It's just when you try to use him as your franchise player for 8 fucking years that it kind of starts to rub you the wrong way. Well, finally, Detroit punts on Andre Drummond. They send him to Cleveland for Brandon Knight, somebody else, and a second-round pick. Oh, okay. And then Orlando punts on Vucevic. I don't even remember what that trade was, to be honest with you. But they send him to Chicago. Okay. So now it's just a race to see who can accrue the better draft picks and who can get the coolest shit, the shinier new assets. It was Orlando. Orlando won the arms race, as it were. And now they're looking down the barrel of a potential first-round win. Meanwhile, Detroit, you go into next season and you're like, can we win 24 games? Be a pretty big improvement if we could win 24 games. People would still find a way to be upset about it, and in some ways they should be. The context of how that happens, of course, matters. But anything feels better than this. Last year we didn't think we could go lower than we already were, and then we lost more games than any team has ever lost in an individual season. And then we also sent a franchise record for the most losses in a single season. Oh, okay. Cool. And then also at the same time, the guy who you're kind of trying to prop up as your second best player just decides, I don't really feel like it, and still can't seem to fucking coordinate himself, still can't seem to develop a plan when he puts his head down and goes to the hole, and he's like, am I putting a shot up, or am I about to pass out of this? And then before he even has time to make the decision, the ball gets ripped away from him. He'll just get like a no call at the rim. Cool. Jalen Duren, it's like, my thing with Duren is it's just wild to me that people are like, it's over for him. He's 20 motherfucking years old. And here's the question. I always talk about Jaden Ivey. Pistons fans, it's going to suck when it happens somewhere else for him. That's what I like to talk about, because I do truly feel in my heart that that's what's going to happen with him, is we're going to, trade him for whatever, and then wherever he ends up is when his stock is going to go through the roof. All right, well, if that happens, as long as whatever we traded him for does the same shit, then it's whatever. Is there more potential for that to happen with Jalen Duren, do you think? Because if I had to think about who has like higher, not boom or bust potential, and I also don't want to say all-star potential, but I guess for lack of better phrasing, we'll just go with the latter. I would probably say it's Jalen Duren. I would probably say it's him, even though he's as raw as he is right now. It is what it is. People love to talk about the core four in Detroit, which, by the way, I don't know why people are still calling it the core four. The core four was Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, I'm sorry, no, that wasn't even the core four. It was Killian, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, and fucking Saban Lee. That was the original core four. So the fact that people have decided to pivot and just use that as like this blanket, one-size-fits-all term is annoying to me. But for the sake of it and for the sake of playing along, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart. How many of those guys do you think are going to be on the roster in 8 months when October rolls around? Well, in 8 months. In 6 months when October rolls around. Hopefully one of them. Hopefully. But if I had to pick two of them, it's going to be Asar and it's going to be Cade. Right? Been toying around with what does Detroit do? How does Detroit get out of this hole? A lot of people have. A lot of people love to throw around Karl Anthony Towns. I've seen people throw around Trae Young. Shut up. Stop. Saw someone say Jaden McDaniels. That's fun, but no. We need something bigger. We need something better. I'm looking at Brooklyn. I'm looking at a team that's refusing to sell on Mikal Bridges. They turned down Jalen Green and four first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. They turned that down back in January. And then there was another one that they nixed. I think it was only like 2 or 3 first-round picks and then whatever and stuff, right? Brooklyn said no. They were like, nope. This guy is a leading man. We know he is. So they won't sell. But Brooklyn's also on the market for a new coach. I'm not entirely convinced, by the way, that they won't just stick with Kevin Ollie. Part of me I don't know if there's been like some clear messaging on that, and they're like, no, Kevin Ollie. I don't know. But if there hasn't been, and we're just kind of like, I saw this report that they're looking at like Mike Budenholzer. That'd be fun. That'd be cute. I'd like that. I would be really happy for Mike. Call him Mike like I fucking know the guy. His name's Bud. I'd be happy for Bud. So I think as soon as they bring in another coach, maybe they'll be like, yeah, you can do the Mikal thing. Like, go give me something else. Budenholzer's like, I would like Jaden Ivey, actually. Because I was texting my brother about it the other day, and I'm like, Jaden Ivey, and then the draft rights to whatever poor sap we end up picking on draft night, and stuff, package it to Brooklyn. Send it their way. What are they going to do? Say no? They probably will. But Mikal Bridges and Cade Cunningham, Mr. Iron Man, was it now 476 consecutive games played? How about Buddy Hield as a quick aside? Buddy Hield played 84 games this year. That's going to look funny on Basketball Reference in like 5 years when motherfuckers are like, what is this? What happened here? So I'm on the Mikal Bridges train. There's a report that's out there that owner Tom Gores is considering some sweeping changes following the end of the season. One that's been filled with turmoil and sadness. I'm just happy he's paying attention. Apparently, I don't know if like his coke dealer was like sending him texts on the side, like, "Hey, did you see your team sucks?" Tom was like, "What? No, this is have you seen this? Have you heard about this?" Tom was like, "I had fucking no idea. I don't go to these games. You think I'm paying attention? Hell no." So I don't know what that's gonna be. I don't know if there's gonna be an emergency episode if Troy Weaver is fired. I will know it in my heart when it happens if that news comes across my desk. At some point within the next couple of weeks. Although you'd imagine if it is meant to happen, that it will happen in the coming days. There's the report out there. Although the report comes from Jake Fisher, and I don't believe he's a real reporter. He's not. I think it was him that did this. If it wasn't him, then I apologize for falsely attributing this to him. That Monty Williams is reportedly not receptive to a buyout. No shit, huh? Really? That doesn't surprise me at all. That's not news, but thanks for letting us know. That's the Pistons season, folks. It was horrible. It's horrible. It's the least amount of fun that I've had, and I don't know how long. You think about the highlights. Malachi Flynn putting up 50 doesn't count. That's not real. That shit's not real. It's a flash in the pan. That shit was a mirage, son. There were like chemicals in our brain when I'm not even entirely convinced that actually happened. Malachi Flynn dropping 50 points in an NBA game. That was the Pistons season. We'll put a pin in them until there's something real to talk about, or at least until the lottery comes around, when Mark Tatum is like, and with the 4th pick, the Detroit Pistons. Oh, thanks, Mark. Let's talk a little bit about the playoffs. I'm excited. I'm really excited that we're here. I'm really excited for this play-in, man. This Miami Heat, Philadelphia 76ers play-in. I feel like, for transparency, the segment that we are about to do, I need to just say up top, this will be the quintessential embodiment of me just thinking, okay? When I'm pulling up these matchups and I'm trying to break them down on the fly, there is no, I'm just saying this to say someone's going to get their feelings hurt. Someone's going to be like, what the fuck, man? Like, you don't give a shit about our team? First of all, I probably don't. But second of all, you need to let me talk through it so that I can get where we need to go, okay? My brain is a vehicle. Let me get from point A to point B. All right. We talk about the play-in. We got Philly and Miami. What we talked about the other day is if you are tired of Miami bullshitting around during the regular season, although I'm not entirely, I think someone sent maybe an email about this. I'm not entirely convinced that it's not just kind of who they are this year. And if you're Miami and you keep doing this thing where you play like your Middle Tennessee State in March Madness, you play like your fucking Norfolk State. Who was the UMBC, the one that beat Virginia? Although, didn't Purdue lose to a 16 seed? That happened, right? Was that last year? Whatever, I digress. These teams all have the same shit in common, which is when they get into crunch time, it's live by the 3, die by the 3. And if we don't have this historical, generational synonyms performance from the perimeter, it's a wrap. Because what's the alternative? You're going to run like 2-man shit with Duncan Robinson and Bam Adebayo, I guess. Or Jimmy Butler, who doesn't take that many shots a game, is just going to up fake from 15 feet until he gets you to bite, and he's either going to jump into you or he's going to do some like step through bullshit off the glass. Okay, that's just not going to work against a team like the Knicks, and it's not going to work against a team like, well, it doesn't matter if it would work against Boston because they would just be playing the Knicks. That's what sucks if you're New York, is the last week of the season really goes in your favor and you land the 2 seed. And then you're like, oh, we're stuck with Philly or we're stuck with Miami. I believe that the Knicks are the better team against either of those, but it's not the most fun matchup in the world, and I feel bad. So who do I think is going to win? I think Philly, but I think that's just my hater brain being like, I think I just need to get off to the races and not be so worried about being a hater. I think I can just kind of wear it on my sleeve for this one. We're going to go with Miami. Whoa, Freudian slip. Whoa, record scratch, freeze frame. You're probably wondering how I got here. A Freudian slip. Philadelphia is moving on from the plan, which means that Miami's going to get stuck with like Chicago or Atlanta. With all due respect, with all due respect, who the fuck cares? Let's get out of the plan. We don't even need to do this anymore because Boston is going to rinse either of those teams, so it doesn't matter. But then after that, we got the play-in the West. You got Sacramento and you got Golden State, and the way that Golden State has kind of put it together in these last couple weeks, Clay's been pretty decent. Steph is Steph. The whole Draymond thing. Well, I was in bed last night and I had this whole spiel in my head planned about Draymond, and it sounded really, really smart. And then I was like, everybody says this about Draymond, which is just, when does it stop being worth it to deal with this? And if something happens in the playoffs this year that jeopardizes, God forbid it's in the play-in and it's one game, right? But if Draymond does some bullshit where he gets kicked out of the game, in like a super consequential, super pivotal moment, is that going to be the straw that broke the camel's back when they're like, dude, we had like maybe one shot to do like a patchwork run to like whatever. And on the strength of you fucking up in the play-in, where we got bounced, is that going to be a moment where Golden State is like, yeah, we can't do this anymore? Probably going to be Golden State in that game, though. You got no Kevin Huerter. You got no Malik Monk. You're like, I don't know. Are you just going to... Because you basically just have to rely on, like, Domantas Sabonis dribble handoffs for 48 minutes. That's, like, their whole thing. It's like, that's everything that they run, is just Sabonis, like, hip-checking motherfuckers 30 feet away from the basket, maybe. Pelicans and Lakers, talk about two teams who have kind of gone in opposite directions. Although, here's my thing about Zion this year. Damn, did we all just kind of go like, I don't really want to play with you anymore? Like the Toy Story meme? Is that just kind of what happened with Zion? Maybe we talked about that a couple months ago. This, like, not fall from grace that he's had, but people just kind of stopped. I think maybe it just turned into like I'll believe it when I see it. Once he's actually able to stay healthy. Well, he is this year, though. But he is this year. Yeah, he's playing really, really well. And he's playing in games. I feel like we almost talk about Mariah Mills these days more than we talk. What is she up to, actually? We don't talk about her very much at all. Where has she been? Where's our queen? I have not heard anything on the Mariah Mills front in a considerably long time. I think the last time was when she was on, like, IG Live, and she was just there she was, like, doing, like, a get ready with me, like, you know what I mean? And so she's, like, she's, like, doing her lashes or something. And motherfuckers are just... Like, she just wants to chat. Like, she just wants to chop it up. She just wants to chat. And motherfuckers are in the comments, like, I don't know, saying super vulgar shit about Zion and, like, Mountain Dew. And they're like, did you do the splits on it? Like, all right, guys, come on. They're send a video. All right, relax. She's a nice woman who's a little bit... She's wild. She's wild. Here I go again doing the fucking Mariah Mills thing. I can't just talk about Zion. I'm part of the problem. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. What was I? Why did I bring this? Oh, the Pelicans and the Lakers. Right. Sorry, I said today was going to be a good show. Let me stick with it. Pelicans and the Lakers. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care about the play-in is the thing. I want to watch it, but there's so little consequence to it. Because you have this camp of people who don't like the play-in because it, like, devalues the regular season. I was just texting my brother about this the other day. He hates the play-in. Absolutely hates the play-in. He's like, it de-incentivizes, like, playing really well in the regular season because all you have to do is at least get into the 10th spot and, like, you have a chance. I'm like, but seeding still matters, though. But that seeding still matters. And the most important thing is it leads to competitive basketball being played into late March and early April. We've been talking fucking ad nauseum about this, where it's like, it's so refreshing to, it's April 5th, and there are 7 games on tonight. I kind of want to flip between 5 of these. I want to catch a little bit of about 5 of these games because there's legitimate consequence to all of them. the number one seed in the West went down to the final day. Now, that's not necessarily because of the play-in, but in some way it is because the teams that these teams are playing at the top of the West, they're playing teams on both conferences, both sides, that have real shit to play for, so they actually have to play their guys. Was watching not really related to the play-in at all, but I turned on the Spurs Nuggets game the other night at halftime. Even though the Spurs were down 20, I was like, I'd like to see 10 minutes of Jokic versus Wemby. Like, that's fun. I don't know if you saw this, and I don't know if you heard about this, but Victor Wembanyama had 17 points in 3 minutes, and I almost threw my fist through the fucking TV. Because some of these threes that he just brings the ball down the court, he may as well have been LaMelo at Chino Hills pointing down at the goddamn floor and just hitting that shit from 35. Huh? You're like, huh? Like, what? That was fun. They ended up winning the game, too. I turned it off because I was like, whatever. Like, they're still going to lose. Start of the fourth quarter. I was like, I watched Victor go off, and that was awesome. To watch him do it, and it's one thing to watch his highlights after the fact. You see a tweet like, oh, Victor Wembanyama, 17 points in 3 minutes, and you watch the supercut of it. That's one thing, but to watch it in real time, man, it's different. It's different. So, I mean, but such is life. I mean, that's anything, right? So as it pertains to the play-in, you want the real answer? You want the real answer as to why this exists and why this is going to continue to exist? Has nothing to do with basketball. The NBA has pivoted to preferring, or rather prioritizing, event-style revenue. You look at this and you look at the in-season tournament, until they stop being cash cows, this is just what it is. This is just what it's going to be for the foreseeable future. So I say all that just to say, take it or leave it. You know, who do you want playing the Nuggets in the first round? You want the Lakers or do you want the Pels? We want the Lakers. We do. I mean, just for the sake of, I'm a LeBron guy and I want LeBron I just want him to have a shot. You know, would you give the Pelicans any more of a shot? Well, I would. Sneaky, I would give the Pelicans a better shot against Denver than I would the Lakers, even though they have LeBron. But it doesn't mean anything. And also, because that's the other argument, is it's like the play-in is essentially just who gets to be cannon fodder for the first two seeds. You know what I mean? Despite last year, was it one or was it two play-in teams that made it to the conference finals? Well, I digress, right? So let's move on to the games that actually matter. Oklahoma City, we're just going to move them to the next round. Good job, Oklahoma City. Doesn't matter who you guys are playing. We got the Clippers, and we got Dallas. Oof. Here's how I can boil this one down. Clippers have been weird, especially the last, I'll just say post-All-Star break. The month of January, they were like the best team in basketball. And even I was penciling them in. I'm like, there's a world where they moonwalk to the finals, and it's not close. You have Kawhi playing, just playing. He's just playing. He's actually just playing in these games. And you look at their, 4 through 8, and you're like, all right. Maybe it could happen. Didn't they so Kai Jones is actually on the team. That's a real thing. Didn't they release, am I thinking of Josh Primo? Do they have both? Josh Primo got waived. I don't give a fuck. Stay with it, Nick. Stay on course. I like Dallas in this series for the simple fact that they have the best player in the series. They have Luka. And then if you, it could get kind of dicey here, but do they also have the best number 2 in the series? And if they don't, do they have the best duo in totality? Are you taking Paul George and Kawhi, or are you taking Luka and you're taking Kyrie? Because what we like to talk about on this show is I think Dallas has figured out the my turn, your turn thing with Luka and with Kyrie. They've figured it out on a level that no other team in the NBA has. Not even the Jays in Boston, okay? The way that they're able to pull that shit off, Luka checks out for 5 minutes, that's fine. We'll just let Kyrie run with the second unit, and it's free real estate. I just think it's going to be Dallas. I just do. It's a feeling. You have the best player potentially in the world right now. If nothing else, you have the second best player in the league, second best player in the conference. I'm going to go with Dallas. Minnesota and Phoenix. This is a series where I feel like it's really easy to get caught up in the regular season and you look at that, Phoenix was 3-0 against Minnesota in the regular season this year. And there are a few ways to look at this. One, I got it pulled up right here. So the first time that Phoenix beat Minnesota this year, the Timberwolves were on a second night of a back-to-back. It was like a 4 or 5 game road trip. Just gassed, like whatever. Second game, there was no Karl Anthony Towns. And then this was just yesterday. Karl Anthony Towns, by the way, is back. I had fucking no idea. Karl Anthony Towns is back. I thought he was still dead. Nope, he's back. Nice. He must have taken my advice and like went to Germany and just did the Kobe thing and found some like Operation Paperclip scientist. And they just like floop, injected him with some bullshit in his meniscus. Cool. Good job, Karl Anthony Towns. But because, Karl Anthony Towns had just come back, and Minnesota, like, they're not playing for anything. It's whatever. Phoenix is, like, desperate to make sure that they have a good, to not be in the play-in, basically. And so it doesn't really surprise me that Phoenix ends up winning that game by 20. Just doesn't really matter. And then the other part of this is when Phoenix and Milwaukee played in the finals, Phoenix was 2-0 against them in the regular season. That didn't seem to matter. Phoenix has also had kind of had Dallas's number sneaky in recent years. Not in I don't think in the last 2, but I think it was the year that it went to Game 7, and Luka just it was the game, right? Didn't Phoenix beat the shit out of Dallas all year in the regulars? I might be wrong on that one, but the playoffs are just different. So what was the Anthony Edwards quote was, they have KD, but we have Jaden McDaniels. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true. It depends on what version of Bradley Beal you're getting. Because what's made the Suns frustrating all season isn't going to change in the playoffs. They still have this 3-headed monster up front between Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. And then everybody else is just kind of on the margins, and it's a coin flip for the entire night. On A, if they're going to get to touch the fucking ball. B, if they're going to actually be ready to shoot that motherfucker. I'm looking at you, Royce O'Neal. Shoot that shit. Stop passing out of fucking everything. I swear to God, he's scared to shoot on this team. I don't know what's going on. Grayson Allen, I'm not really worried about Grayson Allen. Nurkic, he's not a fossil anymore. You kind of thought he was in that era of his career. He's not, though. But also, I guess Rudy Gobert. I don't know. Oh, actually, it's against Karl Anthony Towns. Oh, okay. I don't know. So are these dudes going to be able to get into a rhythm that aren't in that big 3? We'll see about that. Because Minnesota is kind of equipped to deal with anybody. Defensively, at least, right? They have Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert. They have a lot of shit to throw at you, so much so that they're kind of a nightmare to play against, I would say, anybody in the West. And that is a super valuable tool to have, because it's one thing to be an Eastern Conference team and be like, yeah, we think we have the guys to beat any team in the East. Cool. Cool, because that means you'll just good googly moogly skedaddle on to the fucking Eastern Conference Finals and probably the Finals, and that's cool, but it's the West. And I would argue that 15 teams in the West deserve to be in the playoffs this year. I would say Houston didn't make the playoffs, didn't make the play-in, rather, but, they could. They are good enough to, maybe do something in there, but they didn't, right? The West is just different. On a fundamental level, man, they are just different. So let me make an actual prediction here. And I think the important thing in my head while I'm doing this, I don't want it all to be chalk. If we get to the conference semifinals and it's the top 4 seeds, I've done something horribly wrong. So because of that, at some point, we're going to need to pick an upset. Is this where I want to do it? Do I want to say, but I like Minnesota. So I don't want this to be but here's the thing is, if I look, not to get ahead of myself, but if I look on the other side, it's well, are you going to pick the other 6/3? No, I'm not. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to pick Indiana over Milwaukee, but maybe I'll talk myself into it, right? I feel like I kind of talked myself into Phoenix What am I talking about? This is horseshit. Minnesota. I picked Dallas. They're a 5, so I already, whatever, so it's going to be, okay, we're going to go with Minnesota. Spent way too long thinking about that for something that I already know what's going to happen. And then the next one, Denver, we don't need to talk about it. Next. Moving on. Knicks. Moving on. They're moving to the second round. Don't even need to talk about that. Not great podcasting on my end. To be waiting all season for this day. And then I finally get here and we're doing the bracket. And I'm just like, I don't really want to talk about it. What is there really to say? Milwaukee and Indiana has to be the series of the first round, right? If it's not, then you're probably saying that it's the Clippers and the Mavs because they're playing for like the 4th time in 5 fucking years in the first round. I wouldn't disagree with you. That's fine. If that's your answer, I like it. That's good. For me, Indiana and Milwaukee. Because on paper, and, well, it's seen in the regular season this year, not that the regular season matters, but it is something, right? It's not nothing. Oh, shit, is Indiana kind of like the worst-case scenario for Milwaukee? Is this like Miami 2.0? Not really the same, but in the sense that, like, oh, shit, they actually match up really well against this team. That you would think, if you just look at the rosters, Milwaukee would be better. I think about Indiana's, like, bad defense. The defense that's like, yeah, you'll score 120, but we're going to score 135. Is that going to work? I think about the fact that Indiana still doesn't really have anybody to guard Giannis. You're going to double him with, like, Nesmith and Miles Turner? Maybe. Is that the strategy here? Wasn't there a game earlier in the season that Giannis had 50 and the Pacers still won? Is that the strat here? Because when Giannis comes back, we don't know. Hey, who knows when he's going to come back? You imagine he's going to miss at least one game, at least. Injury didn't look good. He only got, a week of rest? We'll see. But if Giannis misses more than 2 games, and depending on, even if it's a split, I'm kind of like, uh-oh. So when Giannis comes back, is the strategy here, if you're Indiana, if you're Rick Carlisle, let him get his. Who else is going to do it? Because I'm looking top to bottom. I'm looking at a Bucks team that just has us collectively scratching our heads. You look at Damian Lillard this season, and this is his 12th year. This is his 8th highest points per game total, 6th highest rebounds, 5th in assists, 12th in minutes, 9th in field goal percentage. He's played 12 seasons. This is his 3rd worst season in terms of field goal percentage, which, by the way, was 42.7. 10th in three-point percentage. He's played 12 seasons. This was his 10th best in three-point percentage at 35.6. And free throw percentage, he was 2nd. What was the game they fucking played yesterday? Was it against Orlando? Who was it against? No, that's not right. Doesn't matter. Fuck, it doesn't matter. Dame had like 16 on 12 free throws. It's like 1 for 11 at halftime. What happened? Is this what we're getting? Because I'm looking top to bottom and I'm thinking, okay, so this has been weird, and I don't, like, he's like almost coasting off of reputation. Dame has had moments this season, but it's just something's up. Something is weird. Giannis is Giannis. He's Superman. No notes. Chris Middleton just keeps getting hurt. He just can't stay healthy, man. Brook Lopez, you're like, is it over? Did it finally happen? Did Splash Mountain finally close? Once every 2 weeks, Brook Lopez will give you a game where you're like, nah, he's fine. He's still got it. Bobby Portis, like, weird start to the season. It's fine. He's still just Bobby Portis. It just worries me. It just concerns me. You know, when they fired Adrian Griffin, they were on pace to win 57 games. Didn't they only win 49 this year? Yeah. 49-33. A team with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard, and we'll throw in Chris Middleton, but, didn't win 50 games. They did not eclipse 50. In the West, I would have understood it. It's a tough conference. I mean, hey, the East wasn't too far off, but it was kind of just all like mediocre teams beating up on mediocre teams. That's why only 2 teams even eclipsed 50. But it's weird because his 50 games kind of harder to achieve just in general now than it would have been 5 to 7 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago. That'd be interesting to look down at the standings. But I also think that just, we love to talk about parity. I think that's just what it is. The playing field is leveled in a lot of ways. That's why, damn, when that expansion happens, folks, when that expansion happens, it's going to rip a hole in the sun. The league is not going to know what hit them. I think it's going to I've never lived through an expansion draft. I've had to kind of live vicariously through digital records of it, historical records, watching some old footage of expansion drafts and shit. It's really fun. It's really interesting. And I'm so fascinated to see, what players get protected and what players don't. Also because an expansion in the NBA would be a motherfucking content factory for not just this podcast, but all of them. All of them. So we're gonna go around the league. I'm gonna do all 30 teams and the 8 to 10 guys that I would protect if I were these teams. And then you're on the 17th team. You're on the Charlotte Hornets, and you're just kind of you're an hour and a half into the show, and you start getting into a fucking knife fight over who's the 9th guy that we're gonna protect here. Jesus, who cares? Move the fuck on. Who do I want to pick in this series? I got to pick someone. I don't think it's crazy to pick Indiana. I really don't. Could Halliburton completely take over in this series? Yes. Isn't Mathurin done for the year? Fuck. All right, we're going to go with Milwaukee. Did I say? Oh, that's right. I was going in. So now we move on to the NBA TV matchup of the first round. With all due respect, Cleveland versus Orlando. And this is another one of those ones, which, by the way, we're also moving the Celtics onto the second round. So the thing about Cleveland and the thing about Orlando, we talked about it at the beginning. Cleveland has just been weird. They've been so weird. There have been moments where, Dean Wade is their second best player. The fuck? Doesn't he have, the highest defensive rating of any individual player in the NBA? What? Is that still true? It was true a month ago. Didn't he hurt his knee? How the fuck did he do that? I hate the injury. What's the word I'm looking for? Injury. Fucking never mind. Let's move on. Well, I have to pick a winner. Do I want Cleveland or do I want Orlando? I don't want Orlando to win anything ever. Ever. I'm sorry, Magic fans. It's just it was going to be us or it was going to be you that succeeded, and unfortunately for you guys, it was you. So I can't root for you, so we're going to go with Cleveland, which is going to put Cleveland up against Boston in the second round. That's just a nightmare. I don't want... If I'm Cleveland, this is a doomsday scenario. But we're happy that we made it out of the first round this year, and you better squeeze every last drop out of Donovan Mitchell that you can. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it sounds like it's over. If I'm Boston in that series, I'm trying to think of what's the worst matchup for anybody. Is it Dean Wade on what's the extent of his injury? On Porzingis? I don't know what it would be. Jared Allen on Porzingis? Is that what you don't want? Is this the best that Porzingis has ever played in his life? Since he got into the NBA, is this the best that we've ever seen him? Is this iteration of him on the Celtics? Because we were watching him the other night. My girlfriend was like, is he good now? I was like, dog, he's awesome now. He's awesome now. He doesn't he doesn't touch the rim when he shoots from 27. He just doesn't. Hits these really crisp rolls to the basket. He's awesome. Kristaps Porzingis on the Celtics. Probably going to pick the Celtics in that one, too. Say probably. That shit's over in 5. And that brings us to the Knicks and Milwaukee. Conference semifinals. Trip to the conference finals on the line to face off against the Boston Celtics. So the reason why I think this is going to be the Knicks is I love to do the whole thing where it's they got the best player. They got the best 2 players. They got the best 4 through 9. Well, here's the thing. I actually don't think that New York has the best player in this series. I don't think they have the best 2 players in this series, but their 3 through 8 is better. Their 3 through 8 is better, and the point guard that they're playing with, Jalen Brunson, if you haven't heard of him, is has gotta get some like third place MVP votes. That'll be I can rest my laurels on that. And are we putting him on first team? Are we? Or are we just gonna do the second team thing? Because it's fucked up that Dame got an all-star start, right? That's what it was, over Jalen Brunson. That's fucked up. That's insane. So we like to do makeup MVPs in the NBA. Can we say, sorry, Jalen Brunson, here's a first-team All-NBA? You can't do that. No, you can't do that. Because they still do positions. So they're going to be like Luka, Shea. No, Jalen's going to get second team. But the Knicks are the motherfucking second seed in the East. They're the second seed. Well, the Thunder are the first seed, Nick, though. They're the first seed. I talk about how they got the best 3 through 8. Imagine Dante DiVincenzo shows up in this series. And the theory of, is this just who Dante DiVincenzo is now, being a 20-point per game scorer? What if that's just true? And in Pfizer Forum, he gives Chris Middleton, his old mentor and 25 a game. I'm going to throw the fuck up on 6 threes a game. It's very lofty expectations for Dante DiVincenzo, a guy who for most of his career has just been a very solid role player, and that's kind of it. And now I'm kind of like, what if he's turned the corner? It's going to be the Knicks. I don't even think missing Julius Randle is going to fucking matter in any of the series that we've talked about. What one would it matter the most in for the Knicks? I said they were going to play Philly in the first round, not having Julius Randle for that. No, they have Hartenstein. That's fine. Yeah, they have motherfucking Hartenstein. They have Mitchell Robinson. They don't need Julius Randle. You're like, Nick, you're just listing centers. I'm just listing guys who can guard the Embiids and the Miles Turners of the world. Who are they going to throw at Giannis? Hartenstein, and then they'll do the bullshit that Milwaukee did to Phoenix, where they throw Giannis at somebody and then they throw Drew. Like when Drew ripped the ball out of Book's hands and then they ended up doing the lob, they had been doing that all series. They had been like, Giannis, go do this thing, and there's got to be like a technical term for this. And then, is this what blitzing is? And then Drew like swings around and just rips a motherfucker. They're going to do that, but with Isaiah Hartenstein and like Josh Hart to Giannis. So we're taking the Knicks. So the Knicks and the Celtics, congratulations. You have made it to the conference finals, the 1 and the 2 seed. But that's fine. But that's okay. It wasn't really chalk otherwise. Although, actually, it was in the East. But that makes sense. I think that's more plausible that 1 through 4 advances, and then it's just 1 and 2 in the East. So who do we have? We have Oklahoma City, and we had Dallas in the second round. This one's tough because at least Dallas has had like some legitimate playoff experience in recent years. They have. And one of sneaky Oklahoma City's best advantages is home court. I don't mean like just because they're the 1 seed. I mean like very literally they could be the 6 seed. And I would say just their home arena and their fans and the environment. That's what I mean by that. I think it's better than Dallas. Also, you do have home court advantage for this series, right? So God forbid it goes to a Game 7 and Luka has to walk his ass in there. Does it go 7, though? Probably. It sneaky might. But I just think the experience thing matters. And the people who have been like, oh, Oklahoma City is just they're a second-round exit this year. They'd be lucky to make it out the second round. I get that they're the 1 seed, and so we're going to view that as like some sort of a disappointment. This is a very young team. It's a very young team. Fantastic achievement to get the number 1 seed. If they do get bounced in the second round by a team like Dallas, I don't think there's a ton of shame in that because you kind of have to take the number 4 next to Dallas's name in the bracket with a grain of salt because of what we keep talking about. Who's on their team? They have the best player in the series. They do. I would not say in this instance that they have the second best because that would be Shea. But then after that, go down the list. I don't know. Okay, so it's like Luka 1, Shea 2, Kyrie 3. Who do you guys want to put it for? Gets really weird there. Why Why are people not convinced that Daniel Gafford is like a starter? What is this about? I've seen it from Mavs fans, I've seen it from Thunder fans, and I've seen it from like just general Reddit, where I don't know what their allegiances are. Just like the NBA subreddit. The fuck? The same guy who the catch radius that he has on lobs is like motherfucking Spider-Man. The same guy who at 2 separate points this season has gone on absurd, historic, Wilt Chamberlain-esque field goal make streaks. That guy is a brick shithouse on defense. He's fucking awesome. Daniel Gafford is awesome. Him and Derek Lively, it's the same picture. It's a Spider-Man pointing meme. They're awesome. It's the Daniel Gafford. Dog, these middle of the season trade deadline, let's go get a guy trades. They just never work out the way that in real time we always try to. Oh, this is what's going to push them over the edge. This is what's going to get them it never actually gets that team a championship. The same way that for so many goddamn years, Robert Covington was like the darling of the trade deadline. And every single fucking year, it was like, who's going to trade for Robert Covington? Who's going to win the championship because they traded for Robert Covington? Fucking nobody. It never happened. That never happened. But people talked about it every single year. The way that we love to have those conversations, I'm telling you, dog, I think it's happening with Daniel Gafford in Dallas. I think it was that big of a deal. And I'm the same guy. I always sit up here, and if in the same breath, if I mention how valuable the Daniel Gafford trade was, I always have to say the same thing. But the PJ Washington thing was kind of like, meh. It's kind of like, meh. Yeah. Some nights you're like, whoa. And then other nights you're like, But the Daniel Gafford one, more often than not, 9.6 times out of 10, you're like, whoa. How many in a row is that? Fucking 17 shots in a row, and they're not easy. He doesn't care. He's not doing it because he wants to have a higher stretch of a bigger. Jesus Christ, Nick, I can't say it. He just puts shit up and it just goes in. And yeah, it's all within 5 feet of the basket, but who cares? Who cares? It's awesome. So Daniel Gafford and the Mavs, I guess because of that, I guess I've talked myself into it. I have to zag. Thunder fans, you can find solace in the fact that I may be wrong about this. But I've very literally hyped myself up too much, and I just have a lot of adrenaline right now and like testosterone. So I'm picking Dallas. Sorry, it's over for Oklahoma City. They lose in the second round. Dallas moves on to the conference finals. And then I picked Minnesota, right? I spent like 10 minutes bullshitting my way. Oh, can Phoenix pull this off? No. So they're going to be playing Denver. This is the series that you guys have tried to convince me, both on YouTube and on Spotify. There's a lot of sass on Spotify. Spotify listeners, a lot of motherfuckers in there. The comments aren't public. I can make them public. I just never, like, if you leave one, there's like an option next to the comment that's like, make this visible to everybody. Fuck no. No, you guys are mean over there. But they're always more nuanced and constructive, and I appreciate that. The Spotify, holy shit, I don't know what's going on with the Spotify numbers. They're through the fucking roof. And I don't like to be the guy who talks about numbers because it's not what's important to me. But what the fuck is going on with Spotify? That's just like, it's the show is snapping on Spotify. I don't know what's going on. So thank you all genuinely from the bottom of my heart. I don't know what happened, but to see that the show is performing well on there makes me very happy. So thank you very much. What the hell was I? What was I doing? I was doing Minnesota and Denver. Right. This is the series that people always try to. Nick, I think you're kind of underselling. The Timberwolves against this Denver team. A year ago, Denver was like, that was the hardest series that we played. Cool. Maybe. But, man, I don't know. This is kind of half-baked, and I think how this is going to come out isn't how I mean it, so stay with me for a second. Let me walk through it. Walk myself through it, not even walk you guys through it. So if I want to say that Aaron Gordon is the Nuggets' second best player, how do I get there? Not best. Nope, that's where I trip myself up. He is not their second best player. I think he is their second most consequential player. Because Jamal Murray can be out. He can be out. But when Aaron Gordon patrols the baseline and kind of camps in the dunker spot and just waits for that extra body to head over to Jokic, and then Jokic just whoop behind his fucking head. Easy dunk for Aaron Gordon. I like to think that Minnesota is a team. We talk about how well-equipped they are defensively to deal with bullshit like this. I like to think that they won't let that happen, more than 3 times a game. That seems to be the number, too. When you watch these Denver games, and when it really starts to go off the rails for the other team, is when they let Aaron Gordon get too involved. As soon as you let Aaron Gordon throw down, what's the over-under? 2.5? 3 dunk contest dunks in a motherfucking regulation game, it's a wrap. I've never seen the Nuggets lose when Aaron Gordon does that shit. Because it's just a energy thing, man. I don't know how to describe the point that I'm trying to make. But you watch Aaron Gordon on this team and you're like, I don't know how to quantify how important you are and what the value that you bring is, but holy shit. It is a match made in heaven. It is one of the better pairings that we've seen in the NBA. I can talk about the Daniel Gafford thing all I want. Some of that is just me being a little bit hyperbolic. I'm not being hyperbolic about the Aaron Gordon and Denver shit. He's just awesome for them. Talk about Nikola Jokic casts a wide shadow, but Jamal Murray is built for the shade. What does that make Aaron Gordon? What does that make him? He's amazing. I'm picking Denver. I just am. I like Minnesota. I like them a lot. I feel bad for the cap hell that they're going to be in the not-so-distant future. That sucks. And I enjoyed watching Minnesota more than I ever thought I would in my entire life this season. I like them now. So much so that I actually like them now. I only used to like Karl Anthony Towns. Motherfucker. Well, Anthony Edwards, who doesn't like him? Motherfucker. I turned into a Rudy Gobert stan this year. If you think I haven't given Minnesota enough props, I'm like a defender of his now. I unsheath my sword on behalf of Rudy Gobert, which, by the way, a lot of people do now. A lot of people do. We tried documenting this phenomenon earlier in the season. Took a quick temperature check. You guys seeing this? That people are starting to turn in the right direction for Rudy Gobert these days? Everyone's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I still don't understand it. Still don't understand. People are going to cite all the gambling shit and how he's like trying to, break down barriers in that sense. I don't really think that's all that it is, but it's part of it. I genuinely believe that that's part of it. That he, what I'm trying to break down not the fourth wall of, no, I can't force that one. Can't make it work. Denver moving on to the conference finals against the Dallas Mavericks. So, the official Motown Noah Conference Finals prediction, Denver, Dallas, and Boston versus New York. How do we feel about that, folks? Maybe how we got there was a little wishy-washy, but I think we got to where most of us are going mentally. Maybe the only replacement for some of you out there is going to be that you would put Oklahoma City over Dallas. But I said I didn't want to do chalk. And someone had to eat shit, and unfortunately that was Oklahoma City. Sorry, Shay. Which one do we want to do first? Denver versus Dallas. I so desperately need this to happen. If we want to continue the theme that we're going to do with Luka throughout these playoffs, okay, Denver has the best player. But Dallas has the second best player, like in the world. And I don't think maybe I'm stealing this point from Jacob, aka Rusty. I feel like this was maybe a video that he recorded that I was editing. I don't think it's out yet though. So Jacob, if I am stealing this from you, I apologize. I'm stealing this from somebody. I just don't know who it is. If there's any player in the NBA who can go shot for shot and pass for pass with Jokic, who is that? There's one guy. It's one guy. Plays for Dallas. It's Luka Doncic. So you just kind of have to wonder if there was ever a year for it to happen, could it be this year? This is the same NBA that for the past 5 years, there's been a different team winning a championship. Haven't had a repeat champion in 6 years. So is this the year that the buck stops and Denver is like, no, actually, we are just going to go back-to-back. How would you guys feel about that? Because my thing is, you watch a team go back-to-back and you watch how their public perception will spiral. And you watch how the best players on that team will suddenly be vilified. It doesn't take much. All it takes is winning back-to-back championships. And then suddenly people are tired of you. I really don't see that happening with Denver. It's weird. It happened with Kansas City. I should specify the Chiefs. It happened with them. But what I always like to add in as an important note, because I think it matters, I think part of the reason why people don't like the Chiefs, despite them just being awesome, like objectively they're just fucking awesome, is because we're oversaturized with them, with the Mahomes commercials, the Andy Reid commercials, the Travis Kelce commercials, and if you're an asshole, the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff, right? I get it. You're oversaturized with it. You don't want to be watching a Chiefs game where all they're doing is talking about those three guys, and then they're like, all right, it's the end of the first quarter, let's cut to commercial. And then there's motherfucking Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce doing a State Farm commercial. You're like, Jesus, we can't get a break from these guys, right? So what's the equivalent? Oh, I don't know. Jokic is doing like Hotels.com commercials these days, but they're very tame. People just don't hate him because he's just not a spotlight guy. That's just not what his MO is. It's just an inherently American thing. We just love the spotlight. Everybody loves to be their own little social media star. Everybody loves to be their own reality TV star because we have the tools for that now, right? That is not what Jokic's incentive is, though. The guy is just there to hoop. Kind of a weird break. I got to pick a winner here. You know what? I didn't realize where this is heading. I now realize where this is heading. I fucking love my brain. We're going with Dallas. Hold on. No, fuck off. I'm picking whoever I want. We're picking Dallas. And then let me motherfucking tell you something, folks. We are not spending an ounce of time adding nuance to a Boston Celtics New York Knicks conference finals. You know why? Because it just clicked in my head what I'm doing subconsciously. If you've been listening to the show for about a month now, maybe you just jumped in, or you've been listening the whole time, whatever. If you've been listening for at least a month, who are the two teams I just can't quit? I can't get enough of them. I can't stop watching them. It's Dallas and it's the Knicks. So you mean to tell me that I accidentally my way into a motherfucking Dallas Mavericks, New York Knicks finals? You're goddamn right I did. That's what we're going with. We're going with Dallas. We're going with the Knicks. Big markets win again. And this is where oh my God, the storylines. Oh my God. Didn't Mark Cuban try to draft Dante DiVincenzo? Is that a thing? Or I might be making that up in my head. I might be making that up. But if nothing else, you have the Jalen Brunson redemption arc, or rather revenge arc, in the eyes of, well, that's going to be the story. I mean, that's just going to be could you believe Mark Cuban didn't want to pay this guy? But it's like Mavs fans are like, we have Kyrie. Like, Jalen Brunson's awesome. And of course, in some way, they're going to be like, yeah, fuck, that sucks. Especially if Jalen does anything cool in that series at all. What's Jaden Hardy's deal? Why is he still there? They don't even need him anymore. Why is he still there? You talk about one of those guys, him and like JT Thor. Those are like two dudes who I think about. You're just kind of like, what happened to you guys? Who was the kid from Tennessee not Keon Ellis, not him. It was Keon Johnson? Who was the kid from Tennessee? What happened to him? Does he do anything anymore? I haven't heard his name in I don't know how long. Trying to think of obscure college players that I thought, what's Nasir Little up to? Does he still is he still in Portland? I don't even know where Nasir Little is anymore. I wanted him so motherfucking bad. I wanted him so bad. Dallas and New York. Do I actually, let me say this. Do I actually believe this is going to be the finals? I do think it could happen. I do think there's God forbid somebody takes care of Denver on behalf of the Mavericks. It would have to be Minnesota because it's not going to be the fodder that they play in the first round. Whoever comes out of the play-in, the Lakers or the Pelicans, it's just not going to be them. So it would have to be Minnesota. and then you would just have to rely on Dallas getting through Oklahoma City. And that's going to be tough. But, hey, we already chalked it. We already picked it. Set your parlays up, folks. We're taking Mavericks money line all the way to the finals. We're taking Knicks under all the way to the final. We're not doing this. This is not advice. This is not gambling advice. It's not financial advice. Do not do this. Do not gamble. Don't. But if you did, no. What do I actually think it's going to be? Denver and Boston. I think it's going to be them. I think it's going to be... It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be boring. I'm just worried that the best 4 teams from each conference will end up making it and like moving on, and then you're just kind of like, oh, so what was this for? But then you're also like, well, you would have had to have played some pretty good basketball to get there. Not technically, but I'm sure there will be. And then it's like, oh no, the top 8 teams in the NBA are still playing for championship. Why is that a bad thing? It's not. It's just boring. Narratively, it's boring. You know, I'm not expecting the Atlanta Hawks to be the 10th seed and, you know, moonwalk their way to a conference semifinals. It would be funny if they did, though. It'd be funny as fuck if they did, though. Dallas and New York. Holy shit, we're well over an hour. I was wondering, I was like, why does it feel like my brain is kind of starting to stop? It's because I've been talking for over an hour. So no more nuance. We're going strictly vibes. I think Luka loses the MVP. They just give it to... I just think we're spending too much time talking. I just think they're going to give it to Jokic, and then we're all going to be like, yeah, of course it went to Jokic. And people are going to do revisionist shit and act like they didn't just spend a month telling the world that it should have been Luka, even if I hope it is. I really believe it's just going to go to Jokic. We're going to be like, yep. So I think despite losing that, what's going to break my heart more? Luka losing the finals or Jalen Brunson losing the finals? The Jalen Brunson thing is fresher. It's newer for me, so it would hurt more if Luka lost. So Dallas Mavericks fans, I got some news for you. For the first time in 13 years, you guys will be NBA champions. Wow. The official Coping Hour prediction for the NBA playoffs is that the Dallas Mavericks will defeat the New York Knicks. Fuck it. It's a great series. It goes the distance. It goes 7 games. Oh, shit. The Knicks would have home court advantage, though, right? Because they're the 2 seed. Dallas is the 5. Whoa. The historical precedent of Luka Doncic playing in the NBA Finals in the Garden. Oh, my God. There's something cool there for Kyrie, too. I know he cared more about the Nets because of the whole New Jersey thing. But New York, New Jersey, you know, if you're not from the East Coast, it's all the same bullshit. It just is. That's cool for him, too. Surely there's somebody else. There's got to be another one. I can't really think of. You guys see that Mark Cuban is like, yeah, I'm wiring the IRS $288 million today. Paying his taxes. That's cool. Here's my... No, I don't want to do a tax thing. Congrats, Dallas. Hey, before we wrap up the show, I ran way too long on this. I wanted this to be like 40 minutes. It ended up being a fucking hour. 40 minutes of just the playoffs. I'd stretched that for way too long. So Drake responded to Kendrick. Still, like, it's technically confirmed, but like it's not. It doesn't have an official release. My problem with modern music is, so this track comes out and you motherfuckers try to make a community post and one of you it's AI. It's an AI track. Motherfuckers watched 60 Minutes once. They watched Jon Stewart do a 10-minute segment and they know everything about AI. The worst thing that has happened to this country, to this planet, in the year of our Lord 2024, is people becoming hip to artificial intelligence. Because now you motherfuckers think, and if I'm not saying you guys who listen to this, I'm saying you arbitrarily, that if I don't want to believe something, all I have to say is that it's artificial intelligence. We know what AI songs sound like. Right now. Right now, we do know. And you're going to, oh, we don't know the capability, but we know what it's capable of right now. We do. Listen to any AI song. It's impossible for them to capture certain like inflections and certain cadences. It's impossible. Okay? There are certain things that you can look for. And if they reduce the audio quality, that's a pretty big sign that something's not real. But when you have a motherfucking studio quality track, like that song that came out, it was actually AI, and it was always advertised as AI. It was Drake and The Weeknd, and it was called how did it go? It was like something bumping Justin Bieber, the fever ain't left, whatever. However it went, it was hard. It was great, but you could hear that shit wasn't real. And let me tell you something, dog. Even if it drop and give me 50, even if we find out that shit is AI, all right, fine, we're cooked. It's over. It's over. Because it's indistinguishable. But there are two versions of the song. There's a reference track on a beat that is not the final beat with vocals that are not the final vocals. And then there's the quote-unquote official version, which does not have an official release yet, which is actually mixed and actually mastered. They re-recorded lines and shit. Let's talk about the actual song. Holy fuck. Oh my god. Oh my god. So we're back to this shit being a full contact sport. Oh my god. And I get some people out there are like, it's just boring, it's petty, like who cares, you guys are being lame. Motherfucker, these dudes are capital R rapping. I don't care. I don't care. First of all, Drake is the petty king. That's like his whole deal. I don't give a shit if it's lame and if it's petty. There are some insane bars flying around right now. John Morant catching strays. The fuck? I know why. I understand the context as to why. It's just hilarious to be listening to that. Of course, the main one that everyone wants to talk about is Drake telling Metro to shut the fuck up and make some drums. Holy shit. Because that's the funniest thing. That's literally all Metro can do. All Metro can do as a response is just like cook up a beat. Talking to Drake like the goddamn Green Goblin mask through some 808s and snares, like some cool little triplet hi-hats. Oh, okay. That's cool. So you know what was impressive to me? The Rick Ross diss was like lame as fuck. But the Amazon Prime ass delivery that he had on it, where like the Drake song hadn't even been confirmed real, and like people are still, it's just AI, and Rick Ross just like he puts out he was on that shit immediately. It was like a 2-3 hour turnaround time for Rick Ross. But basically the whole takeaway was that Drake got a nose job. Who fucking cares if he did? Who cares? That's not cool. That's not like story of added on 2.0. That's what I'm here for. That's what the sentiment here is for me. Is when Kendrick says something, because he'll put something out at some point, he will. I'm wondering what the over-under on it is. Is it like 6.5 days? Because it took Drake like 3 weeks from like that to now for this to come out, right? Okay. So whenever Kendrick comes out with something, I just need it to be like story of added on 2.0. Like I need to learn something diabolical. I need to hear something that makes me go like pause this shit, take my headphones off and go, what the fuck? What? Because otherwise I'm declaring a winner. And as much as I'm a Drake stan, like I just am, I like all of them. That's what sucks. All the dudes that are mixing it up right now, I like all of them. Except for Rick Ross, because my other thing is like, you're pretty close to P. Diddy. I don't really want to hear from you right now, Rick Ross. Biggest boss. Maybach Music. Also, that beat was cool, but it was mixed. It was shitty. Whatever. Damn it, Rick Ross. So much potential. But then you were just like, oh, your nose looks smaller. The fuck? Oh, Ghostwriters. Shut up. Oh my God, shut up. That's just what I'm so excited about is all these dudes are just getting together and just like making music. That's what I'm excited about. So even though at the end of the day, like I'm hoping that Drake quote unquote wins, I'm hoping that the public consensus is that Drake kicked everybody's ass. At the end of the day, I can look back on the story of Added On. I hated Push at the time. Push is fucking awesome. And I can look back on the story of Added On and I'm like, oh my God. That, like, some surgical shit. Oh, wasn't that part of the surgical summer? Wasn't that? Yeah, that was part of the thing. Yeah. Drop and Give Me 50. Oh my God. Shout out to Drake. Shout out to Kendrick. Shout out to fuck J. Cole. What the fuck, man? Lame. Straight up removed 7-minute drill. Straight up removed that shit. Fucking lame. Corny. Boo. Tomato. 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 Lame. A$AP Rocky getting in on it. No comment really. A$AP Rocky is very much of my time. Like, was obviously he is, but like, you know, while I was in high school, I had friends who loved Rocky. I loved all his hits. The commercial Rocky, the shit that everybody knew, loved all of it. But like the deeper tracks, like, just didn't really get into it. And then when he ended up with Rihanna over Drake, I was like, fuck. No. Shit. Fuck. It's devastated. Who else is in on The Weeknd? I don't care. Don't care. That's probably my hottest take, is just how truly lukewarm I have always been on The Weeknd. And there are, like, this, it's not worth going into it. It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. There's also a lot of evidence to suggest that you actually fuck with Drake more than most people do. But now suddenly you're like, no, I don't know these people. Whatever. Who cares? Loved it. Good job, Drake. Good job, Aubrey. Really excited for Kendrick to do some shit. Hopefully it doesn't happen while we're in labor. That would suck. She's like, hey, sweetheart, do you got this? Are you good? Give her an epidural. I'm going to step out. Kendrick just dropped this shit. I come back in. Oh, he was like, I actually wear a size 9. Whoa. He's like, I'm not a midget. Whoa. That was the other funny part. Drake just called Kendrick short like 10 times. That was like oh, okay. Alrighty, folks. If you are listening, longer episode today. If you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars, which apparently a lot of you motherfuckers are. But rate 5 stars. We are at like 190 5-star ratings on Spotify. I feel like me saying this means that one of you fuckers is just going to be annoying and ruin it. Let us get to 200 before you ruin it, please. Let me get to 200 5-star ratings, and then you can review bomb the show. Well, please don't do that, but you can. Just let me get to 200 first. So, fellas, go on your partner's phone. Be like, hey, I need to go through your phone. But all you're doing is going to the Spotify app and rating the Coping Hour 5 stars. That's all you're doing. You're not doing anything else. You're not snooping. You don't need to do anything else on their phone. But you do need to get it so that you can rate the show 5 stars on their phones. Okay. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Tell me how right I was. Oh my God. Dallas King. You were so right about the Mavericks winning the finals this year. Wow. Maybe you're listening to this in June and Dallas just beat the Knicks in 7 games and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe how right he was about that. Whoa. Alrighty, folks, I will catch you guys
Computers now have
in the
primary
next
control.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful.
Primary control.